Did you know that millions of people every year face a key problem without any warning, and it always happens at the worst possible time? I never thought this small everyday thing could turn into such a stressful moment until that evening when I came home after a long exhausting day. My mind was already inside the house, my body was tired, my feet were hurting, and all I wanted was to open the door, step in and rest, but life had a different plan. Waiting for me, I stood in front of my door holding the same key I had used for years, the same key that never failed me before, and without any doubt I tried to open the lock, but something felt strange. The key did not turn at all. I tried again, slowly, then faster, then with more force, but nothing changed. The door stayed closed, and my heart started to sink. I looked around as if someone could explain what was happening, but the hallway was silent and empty. I felt a strange mix of shock and disbelief, because moments ago everything was normal, and now I was locked out of my own home. I checked the key again in my hand, wondering if I picked the wrong one, but no, this was the only key I always use. I pushed it back into the lock, trying to stay calm, telling myself it would work this time, but again nothing happened. The lock felt stiff and unresponsive, and panic slowly crept in. I started thinking about how strange life is, how one small thing can suddenly stop everything. I imagined people watching this and remembering their own moments of being stuck outside their home, feeling helpless and confused. I was standing there feeling foolish, frustrated, and tired, questioning how something so simple could turn into such a big problem. My thoughts were racing, my hands were cold, and my patience was slipping away, and this was only the beginning of a situation I never expected to face right at my own doorstep. I took a deep breath and tried to slow my thoughts, because standing there angry was not helping at all. I leaned closer to the door and looked at the lock as if staring at it harder would make it work. My hand tightened around the key, and I tried again, gently, then slowly, then carefully, but the result was the same. The door did not move even a little bit. My frustration started turning into confusion, because this had never happened before. This door had opened for me every single day without a problem, and now it felt like it did not recognize me anymore. I stepped back and looked around. The quiet hallway suddenly felt longer and colder than usual. I thought about how strange it must look, someone standing outside their own home, unable to get in. I checked my pockets, hoping maybe I had another key, but there was nothing there. I pressed my forehead lightly against the door, feeling tired and defeated. My mind started asking questions. Was the lock broken? Did someone try to force it earlier? Was this my fault for ignoring small signs before? I remembered times when the key felt a little rough, but I never paid attention because it always worked. I realized how we trust small things blindly until they stop working. I imagined all the comfort waiting for me inside the couch, the silence, the safety, and that made the situation feel even worse. My legs started to ache, and the weight of the day felt heavier than ever. I tried shaking the door slightly, listening closely for any sound, but there was nothing, just silence, and that silence made everything louder in my head. I started wondering how many people go through this exact moment, feeling stuck, embarrassed, and unsure of what to do next. This simple problem was slowly turning into an emotional one, and I could feel stress building with every second I stood there holding a useless key in my hand. After standing there for a while, I realized I needed to think clearly. Instead of just feeling upset, I stared at the key in my hand like it had betrayed me somehow. I turned it over slowly, noticing small scratches that I had never cared about before. Maybe they were always there, or maybe they were new, I could not tell, but suddenly they felt important. I started thinking about how long I had been using this same key year after year without replacing it. Keys go through so much every day, pockets, bags, drops, pressure, and weather, yet we expect them to work perfectly forever. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense that something could be wrong with it. I pushed the key back into the lock and felt resistance again, like two things that no longer fit together properly. My heart sank, because this was not going to be solved easily. I wondered if the lock itself had changed, maybe dust, dirt, or something tiny inside was blocking it. I imagined all the invisible things that collect inside a lock. Over time, tiny particles slowly building up without us ever noticing. I felt a wave of regret for never cleaning it or checking it before now. I leaned against the wall, trying to stay calm while my thoughts kept spinning. I thought about how often problems appear suddenly, but are actually growing quietly. For a long time, this moment was teaching me patience, whether I wanted it or not. I looked down the hallway again, hoping someone would walk by and help, but it remained empty. I was alone with my thoughts, my tired body, and a door that refused to open. This small key had turned into a big reminder that nothing should be taken for granted, not even the simplest things we use every day. As I waited there, I began to think about all the possible reasons this could be happening. Maybe the key was worn out after years of use, maybe the lock had shifted slightly over time. Doors move with weather, heat, cold, and age, and I had never considered that before. I remembered hearing that even small temperature changes can affect metal, making it expand or shrink just enough to cause problems. The thought made me look around as if the air itself was part of the problem. I touched the door, feeling its surface, trying to understand it like it could give me answers. I realized how little we actually know about the things we depend on daily. I thought about dirt and dust slowly settling inside the lock day after day, making it harder for the key to move smoothly. I imagined tiny grains blocking the path, stopping the pins from lining up properly. All these invisible reasons suddenly felt very real. I felt a strange mix of curiosity and stress as my mind tried to solve this puzzle I was learning. More about locks in that hallway than I ever had before. The situation forced me to slow down and observe instead of rushing inside like I always did. My frustration softened into focus, and I knew I had to try something different instead of repeating the same action again and again. I searched my bag hoping I had something useful, maybe anything that could help clean or adjust the lock, but there was nothing useful inside. Still, I refused to give up, because giving up meant staying locked out longer. And I was determined not to let this small problem defeat me. This experience was slowly turning into a lesson about patience, awareness, and problem solving even in the most unexpected moments. Standing there, I thought about how many people must face this same situation every day, coming home tired only to be stopped by a door that will not open. It felt strangely comforting to know I was not alone in this experience. Even though I was physically by myself, I imagined others shaking their keys, feeling the same frustration and confusion. I started thinking about simple mistakes that could happen. Maybe the key was slightly bent from being in my pocket, maybe it had been dropped one too many times and I never noticed. I held it up closer to the light, turning it slowly, trying to spot anything unusual. It did not look broken, but sometimes damage is not easy to see. That thought made me feel uneasy because it meant the problem could be hidden. I tried inserting the key again, this time lifting the handle slightly, while turning it, hoping alignment was the issue. For a brief second I felt movement, and my heart jumped, but it stopped just as quickly, leaving me disappointed, but also hopeful. Because that small movement meant the door was not completely dead. I adjusted my grip and tried again, carefully listening to the sounds of the lock. The faint clicks felt like clues guiding me. I realized how focused I had become. Every small sound, every tiny feeling mattered in that moment. Time felt slower, and the outside world faded away. I was no longer just trying to get inside, I was trying to solve a problem that demanded patience and attention. This simple lock had turned into a challenge that tested my calm, my logic, and my determination. I reminded myself not to panic, because panic would only make things worse. I took another deep breath, steadying my hands, preparing to try again with a clearer mind and a calmer heart. I paused for a moment and leaned against the wall, letting my body rest while my mind kept working. I thought about calling someone for help, but pride and hope stopped me. I felt like I should be able to fix this myself. It was my door, my key, my problem. I remembered hearing advice about not forcing a lock, because that can make things worse, so I resisted the urge to use more strength. Instead, I tried to be gentle and patient. I slowly pulled the key out and wiped it on my shirt, even though it did not look dirty. I figured it was worth trying. Small steps felt important now. I looked into the keyhole, trying to see inside. Even though I knew I could not see much, still it made me feel like I was doing something. I imagined dust stuck deep inside, blocking the mechanism, and wished I had something to clean it with. My thoughts wandered to how often we ignore maintenance. Until something breaks, we expect things to work forever without care. This lock was teaching me a lesson in responsibility and awareness. I felt a strange calm settle in as I accepted the situation instead of fighting it. I told myself this was just a moment, not a disaster, and that mindset helped more than I expected. I slowly inserted the key again, turning it gently from side to side, listening carefully, feeling for any sign of cooperation. The lock resisted, but I felt a slight change, like it was not as stiff as before. That small difference gave me hope and reminded me that persistence paired with patience can slowly change outcomes, even in moments that feel completely stuck. That small change gave me enough confidence to keep going. I focused all my attention on the feeling of the key inside the lock, noticing every tiny movement. My hands were steady now, my breathing slow and controlled. I lifted the door handle again just a little while turning the key carefully, trying to find the perfect position. It felt like solving a puzzle where one wrong move could reset everything. I remembered how alignment issues can cause locks to fail even when nothing is broken, and that thought guided my actions. I adjusted the angle slightly and tried again, listening closely for any sound. The lock made a soft click and my heart raced with hope, but the door still did not open. Even so, that sound felt like progress, not failure. I reminded myself that progress is often quiet and slow. I stayed patient, refusing to rush the moment. I thought about how often in life we give up right before things start to work. This door was testing my persistence and my belief in simple solutions. I shifted my weight, easing the pressure on the door, and tried once more. The key moved a little smoother this time, and I could feel the internal parts responding. It was like the lock was slowly waking up after being stuck for too long. I smiled slightly, realizing that sometimes problems do not need force, they need understanding and time. I stayed right there, focused and calm, knowing that I was closer than before, and that this small victory of movement meant the solution was within reach if I continued with care and patience. Encouraged by the small progress, I kept trying, slowly turning the key back and forth, feeling the mechanism respond more with each attempt. I realized that even tiny changes mattered now. I pushed the key gently while lifting the handle slightly, and finally felt a small movement that made my heart jump. I paused to appreciate that moment, understanding that sometimes success comes in very small steps, not giant leaps. I tried again with the same careful motion, and this time the lock gave a little more Letting me feel that the door was ready to open, I smiled to myself knowing that patience had paid off. I thought about all the little things we overlook in daily life like cleaning keys or checking locks, and how ignoring them can create bigger problems later. This experience made me appreciate the importance of maintenance and awareness in even the simplest things. I continued turning the key carefully, adjusting my angle slightly and listening closely. I felt the pins inside align one by one, and that sound of tiny clicks felt like music to my ears. I remembered how frustrated and helpless I had felt just moments ago, and now I felt calm, focused, and empowered. I realized that staying calm under pressure and observing carefully can turn a problem that seems impossible into a solvable one. I was so close I could feel it, and my heart raced with anticipation as I prepared for the moment the door would finally open, and I promised myself to be more attentive with my keys and locks in the future, because this simple lesson was too valuable to forget. Finally, after many careful attempts, I felt the lock give way slightly more than before. I held my breath and turned the key slowly, feeling the resistance lessen with each fraction of movement. I leaned closer, concentrating on every sensation, my fingers on the key, the slight shift inside the lock, the tiny click that told me I was on the right track. It was like a silent conversation between me and the door, teaching me patience and persistence. I tried once more gently, and the lock responded even better this time. I could feel the internal mechanism moving smoothly, and my heart pounded with anticipation. I reminded myself to stay calm, not to force anything, but to keep observing and adjusting carefully. I could almost feel the lock thanking me for the gentle care I was giving it. This small victory was a reminder of how powerful calm, focused effort can be in solving problems. I thought about all the times I had rushed through daily tasks, never noticing small signs of wear and tear, and realized how often we take simple things for granted. This key and lock had become a teacher, showing me that attention and patience matter even in the smallest details. I turned the key again slowly, and this time I felt the door begin to shift under my hand. The movement was slight but unmistakable. I leaned in a little more, pressing gently as the mechanism aligned perfectly. I could feel it unlocking finally, and my heart leapt knowing that the problem was nearly solved. The simple act of opening my door had become a journey of learning, observation, and calm determination, and that moment filled me with relief and quiet satisfaction. With the lock finally responding, I continued to turn the key slowly, feeling each pin inside settle into place. It was a delicate process requiring patience and attention. I reminded myself to keep steady hands and calm breathing as I worked the key back and forth gently. The door shifted slightly more, and I felt a wave of relief and accomplishment wash over me. I thought about how frustrating it had been just minutes ago, standing helpless outside my own home, and now every small, careful movement was bringing me closer to success. I adjusted the key one last time, noticing the faint click that told me the lock was fully cooperating. My heart raced as I prepared for the final motion. I pushed the door gently while turning the key fully, and felt the barrier finally give way. The door started to open slowly and smoothly. I could not help but smile, realizing that all the stress, confusion, and worry had led to this exact moment. The simple act of opening a door had become a lesson in persistence, patience, and careful observation. I stepped back slightly, admiring how a small key and an everyday lock could teach so much about attention to detail and not giving up. I thought about how many times in life we rush and expect immediate results, but sometimes small, thoughtful actions are all it takes to overcome challenges. I finally pushed the door open completely, feeling a sense of victory mixed with gratitude, and I knew I would never take the simple act of unlocking a door for granted again. As I stepped inside, I felt the warmth and comfort I had been longing for all day. The stress of being locked out slowly melted away, and I allowed myself to relax. I placed the key on the table, thinking about the journey it had taken me on from frustration to solution. I realized how small problems can become huge when ignored, and how important it is to pay attention to everyday details. I thought about maintenance, cleaning, and care that we often overlook, and how those small actions prevent bigger issues in the future. I remembered the lessons from patience, observation, and persistence that the lock had taught me, and I knew they applied to many areas of life, not just keys and doors. I felt gratitude for the experience, because it had transformed an annoying situation into a moment of learning and growth. I thought about others who might face similar problems, and how sharing experiences can help prevent unnecessary stress. I took a deep breath and smiled, knowing that sometimes challenges are disguised opportunities to learn and appreciate the simple things in life. I placed my hand gently on the key again, and promised myself to be more mindful, to check and care for my locks and keys regularly, and to approach small problems with patience, focus, and calm understanding, because those small habits make life smoother, safer, and more predictable. After reflecting for a moment, I decided to clean the lock properly. I grabbed a small bottle of lubricant and carefully sprayed inside, turning the key slowly to let it spread evenly. I felt satisfaction as the mechanism moved effortlessly. Now I realized that regular care could prevent future lockouts and save so much stress. I thought about all the times I had ignored small signs like stiffness or rough movement in my keys, and how easily that could have escalated into bigger problems. I made a Mental note to check and maintain all my locks periodically and to keep a spare key handy just in case I walked around the house testing each lock and key feeling confident that nothing would surprise me unexpectedly again. I thought about how small actions like cleaning a lock or lubricating it can have a huge impact on daily life, and how paying attention prevents frustration and wasted time. I reflected on patience, persistence, and calm problem solving, and how they transformed a moment of panic into a lesson in awareness and responsibility. I smiled knowing that every time I approached a lock now I would do so with knowledge, experience, and care. I thought about sharing this story with others to remind them that even simple things deserve attention, and that small effort now prevents big problems later. I felt proud of staying calm and persistent, and appreciated the quiet satisfaction that comes from solving a problem with patience and thoughtful action. Finally, I sat down on the couch feeling completely relieved and grateful for the small victory of solving a problem that had seemed impossible just hours ago. I thought about how easily frustration can take over when things do not go as planned, but how patience, observation, and calm persistence can change everything. I smiled at the key in my hand, realizing it was more than just a tool. It was a reminder of the value of care, attention, and persistence in everyday life. I thought about sharing this story with friends, family, and anyone who might face similar moments to remind them that small problems are often solvable with calm and careful effort. I promised myself to never take simple things for granted, to maintain my locks and keys, and to approach challenges with focus and patience, because even the smallest efforts can prevent stress and turn obstacles into lessons. I reflected on how a frustrating moment at the door became an experience of growth, learning, and quiet satisfaction, and I felt proud of myself for handling it well. This story ends with a simple truth that life teaches us valuable lessons in the most unexpected moments, and sometimes the smallest victories bring the greatest peace and confidence.